As the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have wound down, the Pentagon has embarked on a plan to shift more of its forces to the Asia-Pacific area to deal with a rising China and other security challenges. The move is often referred to as the rebalance or pivot to Asia. However, there is one prime location which is often overlooked in discussing where to station U.S. military troops and to establish new air bases, naval docking facilities, etc. Where is that? It's Taiwan. But wait a minute, doesn't Taiwan have its own Ministry of National Defense? Are there any rationale to say that ministry is operating improperly? Would U.S. defense companies be able to sell more military arms for the defense of Taiwan if the Pentagon took over these responsibilities directly? Well, of course the answer is yes, but these kinds of things are never discussed in Washington, D.C. In fact, the idea that the United States should bear full responsibility for the national defense of Taiwan, both in regard to personnel and equipment, is occasionally discussed in the Taiwan press. But in the USA press, this topic seems off limits. If the ROC on Taiwan is a sovereign entity, we need proceed no further. A sovereign nation will have to bear responsibility for its own national defense. However, as we have learned on this YouTube channel, the ROC on Taiwan is a non-sovereign entity. It is a government in exile. At this juncture, it appears worthwhile for us to examine the legal basis for the functioning of an ROC Ministry of National Defense in Taiwan in more detail. Allow us to dispel further misconceptions as we continue our series of commonly seen mistakes when discussing the legal status of Taiwan.
Commonly Seen Mistakes, Part 4.
The Taiwan Relations Act mandates the sale of military equipment and hardware to Taiwan.
The Taiwan Relations Act uses the terminology of provide or make available to. The words sell or anything similar cannot be found in the Taiwan Relations Act. So what are the implications of this? We know that the Taiwan Relations Act contains a clause which specifies that the determination of Taiwan's defense needs shall include review by United States military authorities.
Clearly, the United States Department of Defense would not be violating the terms of the TRA if it assumed full responsibility for the national defense needs of Taiwan.
Ideally, this would be done by directly stationing U.S. military personnel in Taiwan and building military airports, naval ports, and shipyards, and all other necessary facilities.
Under the One China policy, the maintenance of an ROC Ministry of National Defense on Taiwan is fully authorized.
The U.S. Congressional Research Service has confirmed that the U.S. executive branch has never recognized PRC sovereignty over Taiwan. Moreover, under the One China policy of the United States, there is no country called Republic of China. The San Francisco Peace Treaty of 1952 did not award Taiwan to the Republic of China. Additionally, the Taiwan Relations Act does not recognize the existence of an entity called Republic of China after January 1, 1979.
Based on the above, we are hard-pressed to find any legal rationale to justify the existence of a military establishment on Taiwan organized under the authority of a Republic of China constitution, and which requires all personnel to swear allegiance to the Republic of China.
We are forced to conclude that such arrangements are clearly a gross violation of the One China policy of the United States and the Senate-ratified San Francisco Peace Treaty.
The legal basis for the establishment of an ROC Ministry of National Defense in Taiwan can be found in international law.
The highest-ranking document of international law dealing with the disposition of Taiwan in the post-World War II era is the 1952 San Francisco Peace Treaty.
A thorough examination of the post-war peace treaty fails to find any clauses which can be interpreted to authorize the existence of a Republic of China government structure on Taiwanese soil, or the functioning of a Ministry of National Defense under the authority of a so-called Republic of China constitution.
In consideration that Taiwan was sovereign Japanese territory until the coming into force of this treaty, when the Republic of China moved its central government to occupy Taiwan in December 1949, it was moving outside of China's national territory and immediately became a government in exile. Under international law, a government in exile is not permitted to have an actively functioning Ministry of National Defense or any similar agency.
As a non-sovereign nation, the ROC on Taiwan is qualified to have military conscription policies.
As a fundamental point of reference, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that military conscription policies must be based on national sovereignty. The Republic of China on Taiwan is a non-sovereign entity and hence by definition cannot have any form of military conscription policies. Without such policies, of course, there is no manpower available for the staffing of a Ministry of National Defense. The often heard statement that the international legal status of Taiwan is undetermined or unsettled corresponds to the reality that Taiwan remains under a condition of military occupation in the current era.
To put this in historical perspective, it cannot be repeated often enough that at the most basic level, Taiwan is territory conquered by the United States, which has not yet reached a final political status.
So what does this mean? Is Taiwan independent? Or is Taiwan a part of China? Either the ROC or the PRC? Or is Taiwan part of some other country? The answer to all of these questions is no. In the current era, Taiwan remains as occupied territory. With this understanding, it is then important to note that both the Hague and Geneva Conventions forbid military conscription in occupied territory. The SFPT has placed Taiwan under the jurisdiction of USMG. In relation to Taiwan's defensive needs, our conclusion must be that under the Common Defense Clause of the U.S. Constitution, the United States Department of Defense should take full responsibility for Taiwan's national defense. This would include personnel, equipment, and all other matters.